I mean, I think first and foremost, it's processes, efficiencies, you know, doing the well-oiled machine for so many years that that sort of balance of creativity and structure and systems. I really kind of talk about that as like my superpower. I feel like if you're a designer, usually you're more creative than you are organizational or strategic. And so I think just being able to draw from those experiences and the things that I learned, it's really helped me in business because you really have to balance out that right left brain.
Yes.
And kind of flex between creative and strategic, especially for your clients and then for your own business. So I'd say that's probably one of the things that stands out the most.
Do you have a brilliant product idea but don't know where to start to get it made? Or are you looking to level up your product but afraid to take it overseas?
If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Erin, and we are
The Sourcing Gals,
your trusted guides to everything you need to know about sourcing, manufacturing, and scaling your product overseas. Whether you are just starting out or you've been making your own product for a while, we are here to help women source products overseas without the overwhelm.
In each episode, we'll share insider tips, actionable strategies, and inspiring stories to help you source more effectively, save time, and boost your profits.
Duh!
We know how hard it can be to juggle the ins and outs of product development, but don't worry, we've got your back.
So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into how you can grow your business,
make more money,
and turn your products into profit. Welcome to The
Sourcing Gals. Now let's get started. High five.
Hi. Hey guys, it's Erin. Okay, a little bit of real talk. You have seen a ton of holiday sales flying around right now, gift guides, and if you're anything like so many of the product founders we talk to, there is this little voice inside your head that's saying, that should have been me. Next year, let's make that happen. You don't need to spend another year circling your idea. You do need clarity, accountability, and someone who can actually help you move. That is why we created our 3-month intensive. It's fast, it's hands-on, and it's designed for founders who want real momentum going into 2026. If you want next holiday season to look totally different, if you want to be the one with the product that people are buying, if you want to have the product that's listed on all the major gift guides, now is the time to get moving. There's a link in the show notes if you want the details. You don't have to figure this out alone. Next year, it really can be you. So let us help make it a reality with our 3-month intensive. Again, the link is in the show notes. Click through for more details.
Welcome back to another episode of The Sourcing Gals. Okay, today's a big day.
It's a really monumental day here in our little studio.
Because we have our first ever live guest here in person, like IRL.
I know, we've been Zoom up to this point and we took the leap. Amanda was local and so we're doing it.
I was like, Erin, can we fit 3 people in the studio? She's like, give me a couple days. And next thing you know, she found the extra mic and had her husband move the chair and we just reconfigured some different angles of cameras and we're here. We're doing it. Yeah. So, okay, before we get into it, let me give a little bit of background information on the fabulous Amanda that we're going to speak with. Amanda is a fashion industry veteran turned founder and trusted partner to early stage apparel brands, translating their raw ideas into high impact, production ready collections. With over 25 years leading design and product development for global brands like The Limited 2, Genuine Kids for Target, and Justice, Amanda now partners with founder-led startups and growth stage brands who are ready to build with both precision and soul. Her gift is blending technical clarity with creative vision, guiding founders through a high-touch, end-to-end process that protects their energy, eliminates the guesswork, and transforms ideas into launch-ready products to sell. Amanda brings structure to the dream and confidence to the founder behind it. With a focus on clarity, strategy, and intentional growth, Amanda empowers founders to build brands that are not only beautiful and functional, but deeply aligned with their vision, values, and long-term goals. Welcome to the podcast, Amanda.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So we've known Amanda for many years. Our paths crossed at Justice back in the day for probably like a hot second. I wasn't there too long, but we did have paths that have crossed.
Luckily, our paths crossed.
Yes, luckily.
And we came back together later in life.
Yes, and now both on our entrepreneurial journeys, we've been having, just touch bases about life, business.
Yeah.
You guys overlapped in a corporate setting?
Yes, we did. We didn't
Okay.
work too closely together though, because I was on the accessory team and we kind of were like on our own lonely ship in
Yeah,
accessories. Like we didn't really work
accessories.
with design. We didn't really work with tech. We didn't work with a lot of the same cross-functional partners, but like we were in the same sphere. We were in coordination meetings and things like that together.
All right. Well, Amanda, for me, was recommended to connect. Like, I would meet with someone for coffee and they'd be like, do you know Amanda Rango? And I'm like, no, I don't. And they're like, you must connect with her. And then I'd meet with someone else. They're like, do you know Amanda? So that happened so many times to where finally I was like, I think I need to meet Amanda Rango.
Yeah. And we've met multiple times. So we're excited to have you here in the podcast and really dig into the amazing things that you're doing and helping and how you're basically helping founders launch these really cool brands. So let's first talk about your background. We talked a little bit about it in the bio, but your corporate retail journey, what roles did you play and what did that look like for you coming in, like as you graduate college and start to jump into this industry?
Yeah, sure. So initially I got my feet wet in an internship. So while I was still in college at CCAD, the Columbus College of Art and Design, I was just really yearning for that kind of hands-on experience in the industry. So I actually met somebody in my draping class that worked at A&F that said my friend over at Limited 2 could really use some help in technical design. So although I was on a design track at CCAD, I just saw it as a really great opportunity to just get my foot in the door. So my foundation was really in tech design, and that's really where I got my start in corporate, which is really interesting because it's not at all where I landed.
No, but I think the fact that you have this technical design, which for our listeners,
I was going to say, let's tell our listeners.
Yeah,
because
explain what technical design is too. And
a lot of people wouldn't really understand the difference between wide design and tech design.
Yeah, so the easiest way I can explain it, a designer comes up with the ideas and creates like the creative vision for styles or designs. A technical designer comes alongside that designer. They co-collaborate, and the technical designer executes specs, measurements, construction, and then together we actually build product development journey, and we work together on like evaluating fits and things of that nature. So they're more technical measurement side where we're a little bit more design and visionary.
But I think having that background only makes you a better designer. The same way that I feel like us growing up at Abercrombie, technically we were merchants, right? Leading the business, but we did product development, right? So it made us be able to be more in tune with the decisions to make as a merchant and how that affects the product journey. Same thing with you, right? As a designer now, you fully understand the technical journey that comes behind it, right? So, okay. So within that, what did you love about corporate? What was your journey? How did you, end up where you were last before you took the leap?
My corporate journey, it's very foundational to everything that kind of started the leap to entrepreneurship. So I'm predominantly an apparel designer. My passion is really around design and product development. And I think in a corporate world, the most favorite thing was just the creativity, the collaboration. I mean, obviously, you and I connected through corporate. Most of the people in my network and a lot of referral partners or joint work partners or subcontractors that I work with today were all built off of my relationships in a corporate environment. So I think that's probably one of the most memorable things about my corporate career. But the biggest impact was really just like the boot camp that it put me through. I mean, 20 years of that, vigorous training, always raising the bar, like more, better, more efficient. So I think that is really what gave me the confidence to step out on my own. Without that background, I don't think I would have been ready or prepared to step away from that and have confidence in starting my own business.
And Jackie and I talk about that a lot, that the corporate foundation, especially in some of these brands that we've worked with in the Columbus world, they give you so much responsibility from such an early point in your career and honestly, some very unrealistic expectations that you are kind of just ready for the highs and lows that come with an entrepreneurial career versus being just like a small little 9-to-5 cog in a machine that does your piece and goes home. We weren't that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing is it's such a co-collaborative environment. The opportunity and exposure for cross-functional partnerships. I was a designer by role and by title, but I worked directly with a merchant, an allocator, a planner, a technical designer. the exposure to all of those things has really also built my skill set as a business owner, because I'm more than just a designer when you're running your own business and you're wearing many hats. So it really sharpened my skill set and just my knowledge. I have that level of knowledge, which helps a founder who has, little to no knowledge on what they're doing when they're, launching a brand.
So towards the end of your corporate journey, were there certain things you were starting to struggle with, or was there a push that you basically were given that made you take this leap into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so great question. I would say it's actually a little bit of both, to be honest. We are all three mothers. And so I think, you just go through evolutions of like your life's journey, and things ebb and flow and they change. And I was kind of at a point the last few years of corporate where I was just really struggling with the amount of time and energy that I was continuing to put into my career, which early on in my career was exactly what I wanted. I was thriving, loved what I was able to dedicate. But it was just shifting for me. So it was kind of something in the back of my head, like, am I putting too much time into my career? Am I balancing appropriately with my family? And then when the pandemic hit, things evolved immensely. And so that was really when I was with Justice at the time, and we went to, of course, a work from home structure. And so things really evolved for me. I mean, I had always been a working, person and mom. So it was kind of an enlightenment of a new journey, like what it actually looked like to balance being at home and having a career. And I know a lot of people struggled, but I actually really enjoyed it. Like I felt like it was like the best of both worlds, being able to have my kids around, but also, balance still being able to work and kind of fulfill that creative side. It was a really interesting experience. And then a little bit of a shift in the business, the company was sold. Yes. And so that's kind of the part where it was not my decision. But I was kind of forced at a crossroads. They kind of asked the design team to stay, and I just kind of saw it as an opportunity for something new. I mean, I say I had 9 lives with the company through, starting with Justice and my growth, or starting with Limited 2 and my growth with Justice. And I just kind of felt like it was my time. So I just took the opportunity to step away, and I kind of gave myself a little bit of a sabbatical to just clear my head and really kind of look inward at what was next and what was possible for my next step. So it was all kind of a chaotic and beautiful transition at the same time. So yeah.
I can relate to that. I always say that I might be one of the few people who the pandemic was like a really great time for me in terms of like a working parent, but that was because my kids weren't in school. We weren't having to do any like schoolwork at home. It was preschool, didn't matter, it did, but it didn't. And the first taste of like, hey, this is what it could look like to be a little more balanced.
Yep.
Yeah, my pandemic experience was very different. I was on the phone with China all night, importing millions of 3-ply face masks, trying to balance kids that were in school, well, not in school, but supposed to be in school,
on their Chromebooks.
Yeah, it's a blur. It's like a big fog for me. But anyways, I digress. But yeah, that's so interesting. So if you think about corporate and now being on this entrepreneurial journey, which we'll talk about your company here in a minute, but what were some of the most important tools that you took with you, that you learned there? Obviously, you talked about the relationship piece, but were there other things that you learned from corporate that have been really instrumental in you building a successful consulting business?
I mean, I think first and foremost, it's processes, efficiencies, doing the well-oiled machine for so many years, that sort of balance of creativity and structure and systems. I really kind of talk about that as like my superpower. I feel like if you're a designer, usually you're more creative than you are organizational or strategic. And so I think just being able to draw from those experiences and the things that I learned, it's really helped me in business, because you really have to balance out that right, left brain.
Yes.
And kind of flex between creative and strategic, especially for your clients and then for your own business. So I'd say that's probably one of the things that stands out the most.
And then were there certain things that you said, I'm leaving behind? I'm not bringing this with me.
Yeah, and I'm still kind of working on letting certain things go, to be honest. I think probably the biggest thing is just the performance and perfectionism. I mean, that's been like a slow burn to kind of let that fall by the wayside and to embrace more of the, I mean, it's very cliche, but like progress over perfection, but it's really true. I find myself like hitting a milestone or, you know, something happened in my business last week and it should be like really celebrated. And I find myself just going, okay, now what's next? And so it's been a challenge for me to do that and to be in the present and celebrate, the things that are worth celebrating and just really kind of take inventory on how far I've come. Absolutely. Versus I haven't met this goal yet or I haven't reached this milestone, but it's a slow process. And my husband always says if entrepreneurship were easy, everybody would do it. So I just kind of, keep that in the back of my mind. And that's really been a big mind shift for me, based on those 20 years of learned behaviors of just achieve, meet, exceed, and those kind of things. Yeah.
Jackie and I have both read a book called The Gap and the Gain.
Down because I am a big reader.
Well, I don't know. I said, well, where it talks about living in the gap, the what's next versus living in the look how far I've come. In both, it's a business book. It talks mostly in terms of business, but there are some definitely some parallels for personal life and parenting life as well. But we both really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that they talk about a lot is stopping and turning around and looking backwards, right? Because I am so you. I am so always like, great, we checked that box. Now what's next? What's next? Like, it's so easy to get caught in that trap. And so I have to like remind myself, no, Jackie, turn around.
Yeah.
Look where you came from, right? Because when you do that, it's like, holy shit, we've made a lot of progress, and whether it's a month, whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year. So,
or even in the day to day, there will be times where my husband will come home from work and he'll be like, what'd you do today? I'm like, oh, nothing much. And then I'm like, oh, we launched a huge program today that did really well. Like, it's
easy to dismiss the accomplishments. So I think, again, that whole point is like making sure you're stopping, being present in the moment. And then we call it hindsighting, but really I think it's more interest, like turn around and like embrace the journey you just took.
Like it's reflection.
Yes.
Like looking back to reflect on, what you've achieved and, those little accomplishments.
Yeah.
And sitting in it for a minute rather than I did that. Great. Now let's move on.
And I think that gets lost a lot when you work for your own company or when you work for yourself, because when you are in corporate, you're having yearly reviews and you have to cough up on paper, what did I do this year?
Yeah.
What big advances have I made to boost revenue or to, facilitate cross-team collaboration, what it may be.
Yeah.
You are forced to do that, where when you work for yourself, you are not forced to do that. So it's very easy just to say, okay, that year's done, let's move on. But I think we are all like intuitive kind of like woo people. So we could get off on like that tangent. But I do also want to know, what is it that you built? Tell us about ARD Consulting.
Yes. And celebrate. We're going to celebrate that.
Oh, I love
it. Amazing.
Well, it's been a process. And I think, just to that, not holding on to perfection, I've had to be really flexible in the way that I've built. And the first year looks really different than these last 3 years. So what ARD Fashion Consulting is today is I support startups and early stage apparel founders. And I really support them through a high touch end-to-end design, product development, fit execution. I can also connect them with manufacturers, do their production. So I really try and meet them where they are. But the experience that I'm trying to build is more about helping give them strategy, structure to alleviate fear and just that world of the unknown. Most of my clients don't have any, experience in the industry. And they kind of see that as a hindrance. And I'm like, no, that's where I come in. I got that covered. So I think the most important thing when I'm working with a client is to just make sure that they have a vision. Like, that's most important for me. Do you have a vision? What are your values? What's your kind of creative vision for the brand? And then we can absolutely build on that. Like, I can help with the market analysis. We can start sketching. We can work on prints and graphics and all those really fun creative things. But yeah, it's just that one-on-one collaborative experience that I have just fallen in love with, because it's the complete opposite experience. Although I'm able to apply my entire skill set to it of what I learned in corporate, it's just very different. These are people's dreams. Some of my clients have been dreaming about this idea for a year, 15 years, and I get the pleasure of helping them bring it to market, which is absolutely remarkable.
I got goosebumps with that. That's amazing. So you've been in the business now for how many years? You started this?
It'll be 5 years.
Okay.
So I'm coming up on 5 years.
So I'm curious, when you think about all the clients and founders that you've worked with, are there some common themes where you're like, this is where they're getting stuck, or things that you found that you're like, okay, we got to work through this first before we move forward? Are there some common themes that you've seen emerge at all as you've talked to, again, different founders?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing is they just don't know where to start. That's the first thing. So there's kind of groups of different types of clients. So the first type of client doesn't know where to start. I actually, just based on that experience and kind of hearing that repetitively, I created a free digital product that's called the ARD Fashion Founders Checklist.
Amazing.
So once I sign with a client, I give them this checklist. I actually drop it in my newsletter every so often, but it's just a way for them to get a little bit more educated and just get a little bit more footing about what to expect. Like, if you've never been down the path, it's got to be absolutely terrifying. I have 4 stages kind of in the framework of what I do with clients. And I use that in that document to just kind of spell out, this is what you do in stage 1. This is what you do in stage 2. So I think that's kind of the first thing that I see is they really just need a little bit of education to feel kind of that push of confidence to say, I can do this,
Feel in control of their idea and their next steps.
Yep, because the unknown is absolutely terrifying. So whatever I can do to just kind of give them a little footing and share some knowledge to just kind of give them a little bit more of excitement around it versus fear.
Yeah.
And then the second client is more of like a DIY client. So maybe they've tried to start it on their own. Maybe they found a manufacturer that they really like, but they need the technical assets to kind of, keep going. I have a lot of clients that have started with maybe like a design freelancer, but that person who got them to where they are now is not really able to kind of help them continue in the process and take them to the end. So that type of client, some of them engage in like the end-to-end process, but if they've already kind of made it through some of the steps, it really doesn't make sense to kind of go back. So I actually recently created like a 3-tier consulting package. And it kind of starts with, if you're just starting out, like how to build a roadmap, the first couple of things you need to do. And then they kind of work up to if you've gotten a prototype, but you don't know what to do with it, all the way to I'm about to go into production and how do I pressure test what I've built? Am I asking the right questions before I'm like investing my life savings? So I think just in talking with different clients, kind of learning that everybody's in a different stage, it's actually really helped me to curate a better like offer tier so that I can not exclude anyone, but like meet them where they are and offer them the type of support that they need with where they are in the journey.
You also talked about founders, they need to bring their vision. Like, can you dive into that more when someone's coming to you and saying, I have an idea? Like, how vetted does that idea need to be? How well thought out before they're deciding to engage in someone from like, again, a consulting aspect?
So I would say it's all really foundational. I would start with like brand aesthetic and brand identity. So really knowing who's your target client, what is the problem that you're solving. It's very foundation and it's very emotional.
It
you know,
is.
it's that's very emotional and personal to the founder. I can't create that for them. And so when somebody comes to me and says, I want to do some comfy sweatpants, but I'm not really sure what my concept is. I know now based on my experience, this is not in alignment.
Right.
And so what I do in that situation is I try and give them guidance and advice, and I kind of give them homework. Like, you need to go back. You need to work on your brand pillars and your brand identity. You need to have a brand name. You should probably work with a trademark attorney. Make sure you're sending your application. Like, those two components, brand identity and having at least a brand name, a logo, and applied for your trademark is really my only prerequisites to working with a client, because you can't build a house without a foundation.
Right. And we also tend to like to add into that, like knowing who your customer is and then like what market segment you're going after. A lot of people come to the table and have a great idea, but maybe it's like there's a lot of disjointment between who you're serving and what your product costs. And like it builds unrealistic expectations for what your product's going to do.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. Yeah.
So if you're a founder that has the vision, has a good idea, solid foundation of what they're wanting to build, what does that look like to engage with ARD? What are the financial implications of where they need to be to make this be a fruitful relationship for both parties involved?
So I would say everything comes down to like scope, pace, number of styles. But the, general type of clients that I've been working with over the last 3 years, they usually start between 3 and 5 SKUs. So like really small, edited down collections. And what that looks like is, for the service side of that business, which is the design, the product development, if I'm engaging sourcing partner and we're going to do all of the sourcing materials, typically what that looks like from a financial perspective is between 10 and 45,000 for like your full investment. And we usually split that over a 7 to 10 month period, which is, again, that's another question that a lot of people ask. Like,
How long
does it take? And the answer is longer than you think. Because, these things take time, and it takes more time for your first launch because you're building so many critical foundational assets. So yeah, that's the full, end-to-end product development journey. Then kind of similar to what I spoke to before, not every client is a good fit for that, very engaging, long-term, collaboration. So if you've already started, or you have a manufacturer, but you're not sure how to communicate with them, or you've gotten a sample, but you don't know how to evaluate it, that's when I can either incorporate those consulting packages. I also have a couple clients who they really enjoy the DIY journey. They just need a thought partner, somebody to kind of validate their decisions, give them tips and tricks, like educate them. So with that kind of a client, I will do just like a monthly retainer. We'll identify, are we meeting every other week? Some email communication. So I really try and meet them where they are, because everybody's in a different journey. And then, of course, the product investment on top of that.
Correct.
There's so many things. I feel like I really try and educate, or I've just had a discovery call. I really do my best to give them the full picture, because what they're investing in me is not what they're investing in the entire brand. So
I feel like that's a surprise often.
Yeah.
To a lot of people that we talk to, there's budget maybe for the product, but not for the means by which to get the product made, or vice versa. People will be like just going forward without thinking, oh, once I make this and have to cut a PO, can I cover that?
Right. I would say I love sharing this piece. I love and hate it, because the shock value and just, I think people are grateful for the information and the education, but you can't move forward if you don't know what to expect. So
Absolutely.
I typically articulate that. Like that's in my implementation plan. I tell them, here's the cost of the service. I give a very wide range, but I give an estimated product cost. Mm-hmm. We talk about their unit range, like what are you comfortable with? Some people can't go over 50. Some people are comfortable with 150, 300, units. I've got some clients who were ready for 500. Those are all really different situations. They require a very different manufacturing partner.
Yes.
And they're a very different financial investment. Give them the product. I give them, be prepared. Like you're going to need to do production photo shoot and make sure that you have like professional assets. You're going to want to build your website. So, you're going to have to pay for your Shopify and who's going to build that. And it goes a little bit on and on, but I at least try and give them foundation around service, product, photo shoot, and site building. Like that's where I feel the most responsibility to give my clients the full picture and not just the service that I'm offering.
And I think that's very helpful to see the full picture, but also to understand the order in which they would need to occur. We actually just had a call with a client this morning talking about Shopify and about getting product assets. And we're like, we are 6 weeks away from needing to do that. So put a pin in it.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Right.
Yeah, budget for it, but don't stress about it just yet. Let's get through a couple other steps first. But then, yes, that is coming along with whatever other budgets are needed for the marketing of that. It's one thing to have a hosted Shopify site, but then how are you driving people to the site, right? Whole other separate budget that I'm still learning about on the daily. My own product-based business.
So we talked about what folks bring to the table, what expectations are, what you provide in terms of expectations and services. I would love to hear about a recent client success story.
Okay, so that's a really great question. I want to talk about a current client. So their name is Ari Mon, and she's a very values-driven founder. She has a strong creative vision that serves the South Asian and Western traditions and is dedicated her brand to, crafting apparel that really celebrates heritage and comfort and togetherness. And we met actually through the Entreprenista League.
Fun. Shout out Entreprenista League.
And we actually met a long time ago and we decided not to work together. And then a couple of months later, we reconnected and she was ready to utilize an overseas manufacturer and really up level. So she had actually delivered some product, but just wanted to enhance and elevate. And so we started working together. We helped her with a new manufacturer. We really helped her elevate the quality. She has just been such a headstrong founder. I think anybody who just has a realistic picture of what to expect and doesn't expect that they're going to deliver and sell out like within a week or two. And I think one of the most exciting things that I've seen, because her business has grown immensely in the last year, and she has had the wonderful opportunity to deliver a collection, read and analyze, and react to the next collection.
Oh, that's so powerful. A lot of people don't get that far.
Many startups don't get that far, or it takes them 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on their product investments, how much they invested in the unit velocity. So she just has a really strong head on her shoulders, and it's just so much fun and it's so easy. And there's just such a level of mutual respect. And so it's just been such an awesome journey. And the coolest thing about this client is that I have learned so much about Indian culture. And, we've always had Indian manufacturers throughout the corporate career, but the actual culture and the meaning behind their celebrations and their holidays, I've been educated. And it's just been such a beautiful learning experience for me, and to be able to share my skill set with her and just have a beautiful co-collaboration. So everybody should check out Ari and Mon. I believe it's ariandmaan.com. It's ARYANDMAAN.com.
And we can add that to the show notes as well, so folks can have a link. I'm excited to check it out because all of what you just said sounds so appealing to me.
That's amazing. So we have a lot of listeners out there that might, may be ready for your services or may not be. But just coming from your experience working with product-based founders, what is some advice for those that are maybe still on the fence? Do I launch this product-based business? Do I really invest? Like, what are the foundational things that they need to have that's really going to make them a success story like Ari and Mon?
Well, I think first and foremost, most founders in this beginning process are overwhelmed. So, take a breath. Like, there are resources, there are people who are excited to help you, to be with you through this process. And I don't want people to feel like I'm behind, like I'm not doing this, but I also want to encourage people in the same breath, take a step, move forward. I am so incredibly guilty of that because I am a Virgo, I'm a type A, like I'm very calculated and no longer because I'm an entrepreneur and I've had to completely break that mold. But I just don't want people to feel like I don't know anything about fashion, so I can't do this. Like, you absolutely can do it. You just need to find the right resources or the right support partner and educate yourself, find the resources. I have tons of resources on my website. I do a blog at least monthly, try and do it bi-monthly. But part of my passion is education, is just sharing knowledge and empowering people with that knowledge. So just find the resources and get started. Put one foot in front of the other.
I think that something you said to me felt very valuable. It was that they don't know where to start, or they don't have the experience, or maybe they don't have the industry knowledge. But I like to think about so many founders of really big, really successful companies. They're not designers.
Mm-hmm.
They're not merchants. They had a good idea. They can be good business people, but they hire out the people who can bring their vision to life.
Yep.
Like, I don't see a lot of huge founders. They're not the ones that are like in the factories necessarily. They are able to communicate to folks on their team. They're able to hire in the appropriate people. So if you have a vision, then take that next step. You don't have to know all of it.
Yeah. And I do think, though, that vision part, like, that is the magic. That's really all you need, is understanding, what that vision is, what that, we call it white space opportunity. A lot of merchant talk there, right? But like, where in the market is this idea you have and how does it fit? And there's obviously a reason why you're thinking of it, most likely a personal experience, right? So if you have that clarity of vision, and if you don't, like, journal on that. Spend some time on that, right? Do some reflecting, do some,
Market research.
Yeah.
Like, see what's going on.
Get inspired.
Knowledge is power.
Yes. Even just walking the mall, as simple as that is, or depending on, again, what your category of item you're going into, or if it's, a grocer, or if it's Target, or right, just get out and immerse yourself in it. And hopefully, if it keeps coming back up, that vision you just can't shake, well, then you might really be onto something.
And I just think we're in such a pivotal transition of retail right now. I mean, just over the last, 5 to 10 years, things have evolved so incredibly quickly. And I think the most exciting part of the clients that I work with, or the founders that I meet, is now's the time. Like, the massive corporate companies they're filing bankruptcy, they're laying people off. Everything for everybody mentality is just not what people want. They want deep connection. They want to be rooted in the same core values. And, when I find a client that has such an incredible, like, narrow, niche, like, brilliant problem solving idea, you're right. That's all you need to start.
And even from a technical standpoint too, we did a podcast about this a while ago, but there's never been a better time in terms of tools available online, in terms of platforms to sell your product on, in terms of way to connect to factories on the other side of the world, way to connect to people like you, Amanda, or us, the sourcing gals. The sky's the limit in terms of what you're able to achieve with your own experience, with your own computer at home.
And I think all founders bring something different, right? Maybe you're more on the creative side. Okay, then bring that.
Right.
And then find people to help you with the rest, right? Or it's actually, no, I'm actually really good at the invention technical side of it. What I don't know how to do is bring it like from a marketing standpoint, right? So it's like you are going to bring that innately talented part of you to your product. And then it's finding the people, the magic makers that you can surround yourself with to fill in the rest. Yeah.
So if someone does want to connect to you, Amanda, how do they do that?
A couple of ways. So I would love for you to visit our website. So ard-consulting.com. You can sign up for our newsletter there. We also, like I mentioned, have the blog tab, just tons of really great information and educational information. Also, a lot of my like founder stories and process with my clients to really kind of get like a better view of what it looks like to work with me. I typically share that on Instagram. So at ARD Fashion Consulting, those are the ways to connect. And I would love to hear from anybody who has a really great idea and doesn't know where to start.
Yeah. And I will say, just want to echo that the information that you give out for free, by the way, is amazing. On LinkedIn, you're on LinkedIn, always giving amazing content. I am a part of the newsletter and the blog. So truly, listeners, like, if you love this podcast, this is like another extension of education that you are able to get from Amanda, who has a different set of skill sets even than Erin and I, right? Like coming from a design and technical standpoint.
Technical and apparel and design and
it's all circular and
It is.
complementary and all part of the same ecosystem.
Well, it's been great to have you here, IRL.
IRL, we're so excited about it. Thank you for joining us, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
Good. Well, until next time, we hope to have you back here on The Sourcing Gals.